Thousands of trucks ready for sale, just sitting unused in lots.
Cars are also more expensive now, which automakers have blamed on supply shortages, leading to an increase in demand.
Toyota trucks that were once out of reach have 1.75% APR and thousands off. But the fine print hides a mess of payment traps, factory shifts, and price hikes that benefit them while risking everything for us. The car companies want you distracted by big discounts. What's really happening could cost you long after you drive off the lot. Which side wins depends on what you learn next. Mike runs the numbers on a new Tundra, drawn in by the 1.75% APR banners plastered across the lot. The payment looks unbeatable. For a moment, it feels like the car companies are finally giving something back. But beneath that low monthly number, the real math tells a different story. The Tundra's sticker price has soared. $48,000 for a base model, over $70,000 for the hybrid iForce Max. The APR might be low, but the total cost over 72 months balloons past $54,000, even before taxes and fees. This is where they stack the deck. The dealer pushes the low rate, glossing over the fact that MSRP inflation has outpaced income for years. Every extra feature, every trim package, tax on thousands. Mike's trade-in is undervalued, and the finance manager quietly adds a $1,495 doc fee. The payment stays low, but the loan stretches out. Over 6 years, Mike pays more in principal than ever before, just to say he's getting a deal. Toyota's 1.75% APR is below the average new car rate, which hovers near 6% nationally. But the catch is the price. The company keeps the focus on the monthly payment, not the total obligation. Dealers know most buyers fixate on what comes out of their paycheck each month, not the mountain of debt that sits behind it. The illusion works, until Mike adds up the numbers and realizes he's handing over $10,000 more than he would have just a few years ago. Inventory pressure is crushing the dealers. Rows of Tundras sit unsold, racking up floor plan interest at rates between 4% and 10%. Every day those trucks sit, the dealer's costs climb. That's why the showroom is filled with urgency. Get the trucks out the door, even if it means slashing the APR. But the company still wins. They set the MSRP high, offer a low teaser rate, and pass the pain down the line. Mike walks away with a shiny new truck and a payment he can afford, but the real cost is buried in the fine print. This is the payment trap of October 2025. Car companies dangle cheap financing to keep the monthly number low, but the total cost keeps rising. The hardworking buyer sees a deal. The dealer clears inventory. The company posts another quarter of record revenue. Mike gets the keys, but he's paying more than ever. He just won't feel it until the last check clears. Mike's loyalty to the Tacoma runs deep. For years, it was the truck you could count on. Built in Texas, priced for working people, and tough enough to last decades. Now, that trust is on shaky ground. The latest Tacoma, starting at $43,300 for a base model and climbing past $54,000 for a loaded hybrid, comes with a surprise most buyers never asked for. Every new Tacoma is built in Mexico. Toyota quietly ended U.S. production back in 2021, shifting all North American Tacomas to Baja California and Guanajuato. The company claims it's about efficiency, but the numbers don't add up for buyers like Mike. If moving south was supposed to save money, why did the price skyrocket? The 2025 Tacoma TRD Pro, once a badge of American grit, now wears a $54,985 sticker and a VIN that starts with a 3, the telltale sign of Mexican assembly. The limited trim, which hovered under $40,000 just 5 years ago, now costs more than some full-size trucks. Toyota says it's because of new tech and hybrid options. But for Mike, who remembers when a Tacoma was the smart buy for the budget-conscious, it feels like a slap in the face. He's not alone. Forums are filled with longtime owners venting about paying luxury prices for a mid-sized truck that no longer rolls off a Texas line. Walk into a dealership and the message is clear: take it or leave it. The sales pitch leans hard on features: wireless CarPlay, hybrid power, advanced safety, but never mentions the build location unless you ask. For buyers who care where their truck comes from, there's no choice. Every 2025 Tacoma, from the base SR to the high-dollar I-Force Max, is stamped Hecho and Mikiko. The company's own press releases confirm it. The Texas plant now builds only Tundras and Sequoias, chasing higher profit per unit, while the mid-sized Tacoma gets pushed down the priority list. Mike crunches the numbers and wonders who's really winning. The price jump didn't come with any cost savings passed down. Instead, Toyota pockets the margin, the dealer marks up the extras, and the buyer is left paying more for a truck that feels less like his own. Even the lease deals reflect the new reality: $419 a month for a TRD Sport I-Force Max, with nearly $5,000 due at signing. That's a payment once reserved for full-size trucks, not the working man's Tacoma. The company banks on brand loyalty and nostalgia, but for buyers like Mike, the identity of the Tacoma is slipping away. The truck that used to stand for American value now stands as a reminder of how far the car companies will go to protect their profits, even if it means leaving their most loyal customers behind. The Land Cruiser was once the badge of indestructibility. For decades, buyers knew exactly what they were getting: a V8 that ran forever, resale numbers that put luxury sedans to shame, and a reputation earned on rough roads from Africa to Alaska. In October 2025, that legacy is under threat. The newest Land Cruiser ditches the legendary V8 for a 2.4-liter turbocharged four-cylinder hybrid. Toyota calls it progress: 326 horsepower, 465 pound-feet of torque, and a promise of better fuel economy. But for loyalists, it feels like the soul of the truck has been swapped out for a gamble. Frank, a mechanic with 30 years under his belt, shakes his head at the change. That V8 was simple. You could run it hard, fix it with basic tools, and know it'd come back for more. Now, you open the hood, and it's sensors, batteries, and more electronics than a spaceship. He's not alone. The forums are buzzing with questions. What happens when that hybrid battery needs replacement? What's the real cost of a turbo failure out of warranty? For the first time in a generation, the Land Cruiser's reputation for bulletproof reliability is up for debate. Resale value is already showing cracks. The 2021 V8 Land Cruiser, now a collector's item, is holding 60% of its original price after 5 years. Early projections for the hybrid? Closer to 53%. That gap matters. For buyers who once counted on the Land Cruiser as a safe bet, a truck you could drive for a decade and sell for top dollar, the math is changing. Auction managers report that used V8 models are fetching premiums, while the new hybrid sits on dealer lots just a little longer, even with the $2,000 incentives floating around in some regions. Toyota's sales pitch leans on efficiency and torque numbers, but the old guard isn't convinced. The V8 was more than just a power plant. It was a symbol that the company built cars for the long haul, not for the quarterly report. Now, the hybrid feels like a concession to regulations and cost-cutting, not a reward for decades of loyalty. The company gets to tout green credentials and squeeze out a few more miles per gallon, but the buyer is left holding the bag if resale values slip or repairs get expensive. Frank points out another risk: parts and training. We're seeing fewer mechanics who know these new systems. If you're in the middle of nowhere, a dead battery or a sensor fault could strand you for days. With the V8, you could limp home. Now you're at the mercy of the nearest dealer. For the working American who needs a truck that just works, that's a problem the company doesn't mention in the glossy brochures. The deals on the new Land Cruiser might look tempting, especially compared to the sticker shock on other SUVs, but the real cost is buried in what's lost. The V8's legacy, the confidence in resale, the trust that you're buying more than just a badge. Toyota bets that buyers will accept the trade-off. But for those who remember what the Land Cruiser once stood for, the question isn't just about price. It's about whether the company still values the people who built its reputation, or if they're just chasing the next big trend. Toyota's all-electric BZ4X comes with a $6,000 lease cash offer this month, a number that grabs attention in a sea of rising prices. For buyers watching their wallets, it's a rare chance to drive off the lot with a payment that actually feels like a deal. But Frank, the mechanic who's seen every trend come and go, shakes his head at the fine print. He's not worried about the monthly payment. He's worried about what happens after the lease ends, or if you decide to buy instead. The BZ4X's sticker price sits north of $43,000, but the real story is in the depreciation curve. Early electric vehicles like this one are dropping in value faster than gas models, and auction managers are already warning that 3-year-old BZ4Xs are fetching barely half their original price. That $6,000 incentive isn't just generosity, it's a warning sign. Toyota's pushing cash onto the hood because these cars aren't moving, and dealers know it. Inventory isn't stacked like the Tundra or Tacoma, but the ones they have are hard to shift, especially outside the coasts. Frank's shop has seen the first wave of BZ4X owners come in with complaints that never made the brochure, charging speed that crawls in the cold, infotainment screens that freeze, and a recall that forced Toyota to halt sales when wheels risked falling off. The recall's been fixed, but the stigma lingers. Battery warranties stretch 8 years, but if you're the unlucky owner who needs a replacement out of pocket, the cost can wipe out any savings. Tech-savvy buyers might shrug, but for the average person, the risk feels real. Lease versus buy is the real fork in the road. The lease cash makes the monthly number look unbeatable, but buying outright means gambling on resale value in a world where electric vehicle tech changes overnight. Frank's advice is blunt. Take the lease, pocket the incentive, and walk away before the warranty ends. The company wants you to shoulder the risk, but with the lease, you can hand the problem back when the term is up. For the hard-working buyer, that's as close to a win as you'll get in this game. The $6,000 cash looks sweet, but it's only a deal if you know when to walk away. Toyota gets to clear inventory, the dealer moves a slow seller, and you get a low payment with an exit plan. That's the playbook for the BZ4X in October 2025. Tempting up front, but only safe if you treat it like a short-term rental, not a long-term bet. Dave, a fleet manager who's seen every trick in the book, runs his fingers along the seat bolsters of a discounted Camry. The car looks spotless at first glance, but the odometer tells a different story. 42,000 miles in just 18 months. That's not normal wear. That's a car that's lived its life on rental duty or as a corporate fleet hauler, racking up miles at triple the rate of a private owner. The sticker price is low, but Dave's checklist is even sharper. He checks for uneven tire wear, mismatched paint on the rear quarter, and a faint whine from the transmission. Classic signs of hard use and quick-fix reconditioning. The service records are spotty. Oil changes every 12,000 miles, skipped brake fluid flushes, and an air filter last replaced before the car even hit 10,000 miles. These are the gaps that most buyers miss, but Dave knows they can turn a deal into a money pit. He points out the telltale signs: steering wheels with the finish rubbed smooth, pedals worn down to the metal, faded buttons on the infotainment, little details that add up to big headaches down the road. Fleet and ex-rental cars flood dealer lots every October, just as the new model year arrives. The The discounts are real, sometimes $3,000 to $5,000 under MSRP. But the penalty comes later. Auction data shows these cars lose value 5% to 15% faster than a privately owned model. The factory warranty might be ticking down, and expensive repairs, transmissions, infotainment modules, hybrid batteries can hit before the loan is paid off. Dave's advice is blunt. If the deal looks too good, check the Carfax for fleet history, demand a full service record, and bring your own mechanic. The company wants you to grab the keys and trust the shine, but for the hardworking buyer, it's what's hidden beneath the surface that matters most. The real cost isn't always on the window sticker. Dave's calculator doesn't lie. The Camry on the lot, stamped with a fleet title, looks like a steal until you run the numbers on what happens next. Auction data from Manheim and Black Book show that ex-rental or fleet cars take a hit the moment you drive off. The penalty is real. 5 to 15% less on trade-in, sometimes $2,000 or $3,000 gone, just because the title says fleet. For a $30,000 Camry, that can mean a $1,500 to $4,500 loss compared to a privately owned car, even if the miles match. Dealers know it too. When Dave tries to trade in a fleet-titled Corolla, the appraiser doesn't even blink before knocking an extra $2,000 off the offer. The reason? Buyers are wary. They see the Carfax, spot the rental history, and start thinking about skipped oil changes, hard miles, and quick and dirty repairs. The stigma sticks, and it turns into cash lost at the auction block. For the hardworking buyer, that discount up front starts to look like a trap. The factory warranty might barely cover the first big repair, and when the time comes to sell or trade, the penalty lands hard. It's not just about the miles, it's the story behind them. Fleet cars rack up miles fast, often with dozens of drivers and little incentive for careful maintenance. Even if the car runs fine today, the depreciation curve is steeper. Dave's records show that a 3-year-old ex-fleet Camry averages 50% of its original value at auction, while a single-owner car holds closer to 60%. That gap widens with every year and every extra mile. Dealers use the shine and the sticker price to move these cars quickly, but the math always catches up. Dave's advice is simple. If you're thinking about a fleet car, do the math on resale before you sign. That so-called bargain could cost you thousands when it's time to move on. The companies want you to focus on the low price today, not the money you'll lose tomorrow. For buyers who need every dollar to count, that's the kind of risk the fine print won't warn you about. Susan, the general manager at a Midwestern Toyota dealership, unlocks her office at dawn and logs into the lender portal before the first coffee has cooled. The numbers glare back. Every unsold Tundra, Tacoma, and Sequoia on her lot racks up daily interest, sometimes as much as $25 per truck, just for sitting there. With floor plan rates running between 4% and 10% this year, each vehicle becomes a slow leak in the dealership's bank account. The trucks aren't just inventory, they're collateral, pledged to lenders who expect payment the moment a sale closes. If a truck sits too long, the lender demands a curtailment, a partial paydown on the loan, even though the vehicle hasn't moved. Miss a curtailment, and the lender's patience thins. Miss two, and the calls start, asking why the balance hasn't budged. That's why October feels like a race against the clock. Every week, a Tundra sits unsold. Susan's carrying costs climb. Her spreadsheet tallies the damage. 60 trucks on the lot, each costing $20 to $30 per day in interest and fees, plus the threat of a curtailment every 60 days. On a $60,000 truck at 8% interest, that's $400 a month, just for the privilege of parking it. Multiply that by dozens of units, and the monthly burden balloons into the tens of thousands. The manufacturer sets the MSRP, but it's the lender who quietly shapes the urgency behind every so-called deal. Susan's dilemma is simple: cut prices to move metal or watch the red ink spread. Discounting a truck by $2,000 hurts, but holding it for another month could cost even more in interest and lost bonuses. Lenders don't care about market trends or seasonal slumps. They want their money on time, and they'll penalize dealers who fall behind. Some offer a grace period, maybe 90 days interest-free on new arrivals, but that window slams shut fast. After that, every unsold truck becomes a liability, not an asset. In October 2025, the pressure is visible on every dealer lot. Rows of unsold trucks, SUVs, and sedans gather dust, while Susan's team scrambles to clear inventory before the next curtailment deadline. The finance manager whispers about lenders tightening terms, warning that a missed payment could mean losing allocation for next year's models, or worse, a freeze on new inventory. The stakes are high, and the clock never stops. That's the real reason behind the deep discounts and frantic sales tactics. It's not generosity, it's survival. Every deal Susan makes is a calculation. Lose a little on the front end, avoid a bigger loss on the back. The company sets the sticker, the lender sets the tempo, and the dealer is caught in the middle, passing the pressure down to the buyer. Some customers sense the desperation. Savvy shoppers, armed with knowledge of floor plan financing, push harder for concessions. They know that the longer a vehicle sits, the more leverage they gain. Susan recognizes the game, but her hands are tied. She can't hold out for top dollar when every day costs her more. The dealership's survival depends on keeping inventory moving and lenders happy, even if it means trimming profit to the bone. The cash crunch isn't just a story about numbers. It's a daily battle fought in back offices and on showroom floors, where every unsold truck is a ticking time bomb. For Susan and her team, October is a month of hard choices. Cut deeper, move faster, or risk losing it all. The deals on the lot aren't a gift from the company. They're the last resort of dealers caught between corporate greed and financial reality, where the only way out is to sell, no matter the cost. Susan's desk is stacked with rebate printouts and supplier program memos. October's real playbook for buyers willing to work the system. The clock is ticking on Toyota's supplier purchase program, a window that opens October 1st and closes January 2nd. For insiders, employees, contractors, even friends of suppliers, this is the golden ticket. Supplier pricing cuts past the haggling, locking in deals sometimes $1,500 to $3,000 below what the average buyer can negotiate. Stack that with the month's factory incentives, and the numbers get serious. A new Tundra at $6,000 off sticker, a Camry hybrid for less than last year's base model. The trick is knowing your eligibility and bringing the right documents, proof of employment, a supplier code, and a willingness to walk if the dealer tries to tack on bogus add-ons or dock fees. Negotiation in October is a game of patience and pressure. Dealers like Susan know the rules. Every day a truck sits, her costs grow, but every dollar she cuts from the deal eats into razor-thin margins. Buyers who do their homework, armed with real-time inventory trackers, regional incentive lists, and the latest supplier codes, can flip the script. The best leverage comes in the last week of the month, as curtailment deadlines loom. That's when Susan's team is most likely to approve a deal that was off limits just days before. She's not giving in out of kindness. She's dodging another month of floor plan interest and a call from the lender. Warranty coverage is the next battleground. Toyota's standard 3-year, 36,000-mile coverage sounds solid, but high-mileage fleet and ex-rental units often have less than a year left, sometimes just a few months. Extended warranties are pushed hard in the finance office, but most are padded with profit for the dealer. The smart move? Price out Toyota's official Platinum plan online before you sign, then use that number to push back against any markup. For hybrids and electric vehicles, the battery warranty. 8 years or 100,000 miles, offers peace of mind, but only if you get it in writing. Ask for a printout of the in-service date and make sure the warranty clock hasn't started ticking before you even take delivery. The supplier window isn't just for the lucky few. Military and recent college grad programs run alongside, each offering $500 to $1,000 in bonus cash when you finance through Toyota. These stack with lease and annual percentage rate deals, but only if you ask. Dealers rarely volunteer the information, hoping buyers will miss out. Susan admits that the savviest shoppers, usually the ones who show up with a folder of printed incentives, walk away with the best deals. The company would rather you take the rebate and finance at a higher rate, but the real win is stacking every available offer and paying cash or using a low-rate credit union loan instead. Timing matters. The last 10 days of October are when the pressure peaks. Susan's sales team gets daily calls from regional managers, pushing for unit counts to hit bonus tiers. That's when buyers have the most leverage, especially on slow-moving trims, demo units, or anything with a fleet title. If you're flexible on color or options, you can use the dealer's urgency to your advantage. Don't be afraid to walk out. Susan knows that every unsold truck is a liability, and she's far more likely to call you back with a better offer than risk another month of interest and a missed sales target. For buyers who play by the book, supplier codes ready, incentives stacked, and negotiation lines drawn, the deals in October 2025 are real, but they're not handed out. The company's play is to confuse, distract, and upsell. Your move is to slow down, read every line, and force the numbers into the open. Susan's job is to keep the lot moving and the lenders satisfied. Yours is to get the keys without leaving money on the table. In this market, knowledge isn't just power, it's dollars in your pocket, and it's the only way to make sure you're beating them at their own game. In October 2025, Toyota dealers offered up to 73% off select models, an unprecedented shift documented across official incentive bulletins and dealer pricing sheets. For the first time, trucks like the Tundra iForce Max came with 1.75% APR financing, while the Tacomas moved to Mexican production and rising top trim prices left many longtime buyers questioning value. The Land Cruiser's switch from a V8 to a turbo hybrid and $6,000 in lease cash on the BZ4X showed how even icons and new tech were not spared from market turmoil. Fleet clearance discounts looked tempting, but evidence of hidden wear and steep resale penalties revealed new risks for everyday buyers. These deals were driven not by generosity, but by mounting floor plan interest costs, reaching 10%, and pressure from lenders, as confirmed by dealer records. What's still unclear is how long these discounts will last, and which models will hold their value in the long run. The facts show a market tilting in favor of the consumer, but the playbook is still being written, by the companies above, and by the families who refuse to pay more than a car is worth.